Hi guys, DevilHunterXYZ, and it's been quite a long time since I've done any movie review. Honestly, kind of thinking back to it, the last time I even did a movie review was probably, I don't know, I think it was probably the Sonic the Hedgehog movie back in February of last year, but you know, COVID. Yeah, pretty much COVID kind of messed up a lot of things, so that being movies as well. I'm granted not saying there weren't any movies that were shown all last year, but it's just the ones I was more interested in. Unfortunately, got pushed back to this year, and we'll see if it actually turns out they are, appearing this year. But anyway, one of the movies anyway wanted to kind of see and what I was kind of interested in was Willy's Wonderland, and I gotta say, Willy's Wonderland is kind of odd, really. I mean, obviously, it's supposed to be paying a little homage to Five Nights at Freddy's. The way, the way, kind of how the style is, it kind of goes to that same Chuck E. Cheese esque type of scenario where it's like a haunted place. The animatronics are possessed by the spirits of dead people, and then you have a one lone person who's just trying to survive the night. I mean, that was mainly the premise of Five Nights at Freddy's, and they pretty much took the same idea for Willy's Wonderland, but instead of being mostly just a horror-esque type movie, it kind of goes for a little bit of action slash comedy thrown into it as well. So it plays out pretty strange, but let's dive right into it. Well, for the plot of the movie, pretty much it's Nicolas Cage who is playing as a quiet loner. And that's the best way to put it. He's pretty much driving down a empty road out in the middle of Nevada, or well, actually it's Hayesville, Nevada, and of course he ends up getting flat tires on his car. And with that, after taking it to a mechanic and finding no real way of paying for the damages, or it just didn't accept ATMs for, apparently, he decides to go with a job offer to pretty much stay in overnight at a kind of a kids pizzeria esque type place. Kind of similar to like a Chuck E. Cheese type of scenario where uh, essentially all he has to do is just spend the night, clean up the place, and in the morning his car would be completely repaired, as like an exchange, as a good deal. Not sure why he didn't really question it. He just accepts the deal, and he pretty much spends the entire time just kind of cleaning the place, periodically taking breaks to really repair a pinball machine every now and then. But as the night goes on, apparently the animatronics that are in the building start coming to life and try to attack him, and it kind of goes into like one-on-one fights against the animatronic throughout the entire building. And of course, eventually there's a group of teens who ends up arriving at the building, trying to burn down the place initially, but they saw that the loner was still in the building itself. So they try to break in to try to get him out of the building, but of course the loner decides to stay, continue working until the end of his shift, I guess. And then eventually, the local authorities do come into play after being alerted by one of the teens to try to help out with the situation. Uh, and as the movie progresses, you kind of find out that the reason why the place is even haunted to begin with is that the animatronics have been possessed by kind of notorious killers that used to work at Willy's Wonderland, and they were kind of appeasing to some satanic ritual. And I guess in order to, and I guess for the citizens of the Hayesfield, in order to appease the spirits, they would try to bring in sacrifices so that the animatronics won't try to go after won't go after the people anymore. I mean, that's kind of the usual case, and so really, this loner here just happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, essentially. But everything turned out for the good in his favor anyway. He ends up winning against the animatronics at the end of the night, and came in morning. Uh, the owner of Willy's, and as well as the mechanic at the time, they visit Willy's to see what kind of uh, devastation that brought upon the loner. But it turns out he survived. He managed to get his car back, and the only remaining teen who survived the night as well end up driving off. It is a pretty straightforward movie, to say the least. Well, for the good, one thing I can say immediately is the atmosphere, the kind of the tone of the movie. Uh, well, especially when the movie kind of goes into Willy's Wonderland, it kind of has that same feel like Chuck E. Cheese, or I guess more in this case, similar to what was it, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. This obviously is supposed to be parodying Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, the place itself is kind of dingy, dirty. It looked like has not been used, or has not been any people there for years, decades probably. So it's like a complete mess for the most part. But I mean, it kind of sets up the tone for it. Essentially those fights against the animatronics. Since it kind of has like almost a horror-esque feel to it. Uh, the second, I would probably say, would have to be the kind of the performance that Nicolas Cage does. Um, Granted, for one thing, he's just credited as the janitor throughout the entire movie, and that's kind of what he is. He's just a janitor. He basically cleans the entire place. He just goes around each room, kind of exploring bits and pieces of Willy's Wonderland, and he just goes around cleaning, tries to do a good job. uh, and he just does his job. That's really it. And I kind of find it strangely in a good way, because it's like nothing really phases him. I mean, the fact that he's getting attacked by the animatronics doesn't really seem to phase him in any way. He just kind of sees it as just a normal occurrence, just a typical obstacle to overcome. That's it. He doesn't freak out or anything like that. He doesn't go over the top. I mean, granted, he doesn't even speak at all in this movie, but I mean, it's just the weirdly calm demeanor of the janitor is just kind of what sells it to me, honestly, compared to like everyone else who is deathly afraid of the animatronics, or like they know the lore of it, which kind of actually brings it to the third good thing. It's just I kind of do like the fact that they're obviously parroting this off of Five Nights at Freddy's, kind of having similar plots, or at least similar plots to the first FNAF game anyway. I mean, not trying to dive deep into the complex web of the entire series, but just more or less focusing on the first game, where it's just the animatronics are just being possessed by spirits of dead people. I mean, I do like that they're kind of just kind of parroting it, paying a little homage to it, and maybe it could be almost like a test to see what would the Five Nights at Freddy's movie would turn out. Who knows? Maybe something similar to this. Well, for the bad, well, I guess for one thing, as much as I like the performance that Nicolas Cage does, the thing is just you don't really know the character. That's kind of the weird thing. I mean, since he doesn't speak at all throughout this entire movie, he doesn't say one single word in the entire movie. Honestly, he could be replaced by really anyone, and it probably might work out the same. I'm just saying. I kind of wish they would have given him at least a name or something, something that maybe some kind of background information or something. Because I just kind of find it strange that just a random guy decides just to take up the job for without even questioning why he's even doing it. He's just kind of following the orders, and that's it. I kind of just wish he had some backstory to kind of maybe explain why he's doing what he's doing. Fortunately, we don't. I guess the second thing is really the other actors, like the other side characters throughout the movie, as they're honestly forgettable. I mean, probably with the exception to her name was Liv Hawthorne, kind of like the group leader in some fashion. Everyone else though, they're pretty much forgettable. I mean, I honestly can't even remember their names at this point, and I just watched a movie not too long ago. But I mean, because they're only on screen for like a few minutes, fortunately. So I kind of wish that some of the side characters would actually have more screen time, or at least we got to know a little bit more about them. But I mean, obviously, the whole movie is just more focusing on Nicolas Cage and the fights against the animatronics and just trying to stay alive. Well, overall, Willy's Wonderland is kind of an odd movie to say the least. You know, I was kind of going into this thinking it was just going to be a pure horror type movie, you know, kind of like the FNAF games have been, but it's kind of almost like the exact opposite in a way where it's kind of almost like a horror comedy. Or I guess it's kind of almost like living out the notions on what if you had Five Nights at Freddy's, but the night guard had enough of the BS from the animatronics and started becoming a badass, I guess. That's kind of what it seems like it was trying to go for. Kind of like the exact opposite of what you would normally expect out of a FNAF game. But like I said, I kind of think this was kind of more like a test to see how would the FNAF movie could be, or or what direction it could take. Who knows? Maybe it could take some inspiration out of Willy's Wonderland for their movie. But in this case, though, I actually thought this was a weirdly entertaining movie, to say the least. It kind of feels like a horror movie, but having Nicolas Cage's somewhat calm and comedic, slightly comedically action performance interfering with it. But I mean, like that kind of that weird mix actually turned out pretty well, to say the least. And I don't know. It just you kind of just have to accept the movie how it is. You know, I mean, it doesn't try to over explain things. It's just a flat, straight out, simple plot of a movie that. I mean, again, you just gotta just take it how it is. But I mean, looking past that though, I mean, it is still a pretty entertaining movie, and I would highly recommend seeing it at least once. You know, just to kind of see an odd take, an odd Nicolas Cage performance that he usually never really does. But with that though, I would probably give this movie a final score of an 8 out of 10. Just maybe some little missteps with some of the side characters, like if the main character himself actually maybe had some backstory or something to go along with it, I would say probably would have turned out a little bit better. But again, that being said, though, I honestly still think it's worth a watch. Alright, guys, this is DevilHunterXYZ, and until next time.